And I'm not sure that, you know, it's not really political analysis, it's more sort of psychiatric analysis of this individual. Can he move quick enough to do what is needed? And I'm not sure he can, because 41 years of sycophancy and being told you're the greatest and the most intelligent and the leader of the people is sure to turn anyone's head. And I think what you're witnessing now is exactly a result of that.
All right, just briefly in the few minutes that we have left, I want to ask all three of you how you see this this whole thing playing out. It's only been a few days that we've seen these protests, what we've been able to see of it anyway. But Ashur Shams, do you see this going the same way as Tunisia and Egypt? I know you hope you do.
Well, I know the people inside Libya have been quiet and have been repressed for many years, and this is just the tip of the iceberg. It's something which is expected a long time ago, but never happened. There were offers of reform, and there were talk of improving the situation. It has not improved for many years, and this is now has come out. It is not going to stop. Red lines have been passed. A red line of killing the Libyans killing Libyans, and things like that. It's not going to stop here. And what, of course, Gaddafi is going to do is going to defend his power base. I agree with the psychologically, you know, how he behaves, and how he's a very strange, weird person, if you like, who might turn any time the opposite direction.
Ali Khan Satchu, how do you see this playing out over the next few days?
I think we've entered a new normal right across the Middle East. I think it's a trend change, and I think Libya is a holdout. It's a hermit kingdom. It's a black box. There's a lack of information. Egypt was on the other side. So this might take longer to play out. But I think ultimately we're witnessing the sinking of an old order. And when the new order comes into play, I'm not sure. But the old one, we've turned a page. And Gaddafi belongs in the 20th century. I can't see him adjusting quickly enough. And I think Western governments, it's interesting to see who's going to break out. I think David Cameron will break out. He was unhappy with Lockerbie anyway. I think he can come out and say it how it is. But I think, you know, for the Western governments, they can't hang back too much longer. Really, it's too obvious.
All right, briefly,
now,
Ian Black, we know we've made this point before. Information is sketchy, but I mean, how do you see this playing out? Are we seeing the beginning of the end of this regime in Libya?
Well, I think we're seeing the beginning of the end, but I don't know how long it's going to take. I think would be the only certain thing I could say. I agree that this looks pretty irreversible, but a lot of people could die and many more bad things could happen before this very strange regime, very isolated, very idiosyncratic, recognizes that it's going the way of history. In the wake of these extraordinary events, Tunisia, Egypt, after all, Libya's two nearest neighbours have gone. But I don't think it's going to happen easily or quickly.
Well, it will certainly be interesting to see how all of this does play out, not only in Libya, but throughout the whole Middle East. But that is all we have time for. I want to thank all of our guests for taking part in the discussion. Ashur Shams, Ali Khan Satchu, and Ian Black. Many thanks for your time. And thank you for joining us on this edition of Inside Story. As always, we welcome your feedback on this and any of the topics we discussed. Remember, you can email your comments to us at insidestory@aljazeera.net. Bye for now.
Information travels in many ways. Knowledge passes in an instant.
If you want to communicate with those shaping the headlines, this is your chance to ask questions directly to the people making the news. Riz Khan, at this time on Al Jazeera.
Afghanistan is faced with a huge challenge.
Relations have gone really sour between us and our allies. We have inflicted considerable damage on the enemy.
The people who make international headlines.
Ultimately, the truth will out.
They want to stop this publication of information that embarrasses them.
Make time for Sir David Frost. Frost over the world. At this time on Al Jazeera.
All sides, all views, all ways. Al Jazeera.
As the people of Uganda head to the polls, fears of vote rigging, public protests and violence are proving an unwelcome distraction. But after 25 years, will President Museveni retain power? Ugandan elections on Al Jazeera.
From the world to your phone. Al Jazeera Mobile.
Dozens reported killed in Libya's capital. One of the leader's sons says he'll fight to the last man standing. Hello, I'm Sami Zaidan. This is Al Jazeera bringing you extensive coverage of the uprising in Libya. Protests are gathering momentum. Demonstrators say they've taken control of several key towns. In Bahrain, protesters calling for their rulers to go are vowing not to back down as another demonstrator dies of his wounds. And an Indian court upholds the death penalty on the only gunman captured alive after the Mumbai massacre. Well, we begin with breaking news from Libya, where anti-government protesters appear to be escalating. The son of Libya's leader is warning of civil war, threatening a fight to the last bullet to crush those protests. But instead of backing down, demonstrators appear to be stepping up their action. Let's have a look at some of the latest developments going on in the country. At least 61 people are said to have died in the latest violence in the capital on Monday. Witnesses say security forces have started looting banks and other government institutions, including the office of the Prime Minister. We're also getting reports that the People's Convention Hall was set on fire. Protesters have also been targeting police stations. Al Jazeera's Lawrence Lee has more.
Although these pictures from Tripoli have only just emerged, they're from the weekend. But what they purport to show mirrors the latest information from the protesters. Banks being looted, police stations on fire, dozens killed. Elsewhere, a military camp abandoned by soldiers has apparently been attacked from the air, presumably to stop demonstrators getting weapons.